Hi, this is Scott Dudley from Funnel Fella Radio, and today we're up to episode number 26, where we're going to be looking at never-ending improvement from continuous CRO. So I've got an interesting question for you today. Is there a ceiling to the potential of ongoing conversion rate optimization? And are never-ending improvements possible by continually optimizing your funnel and achieving exponential lifts? Or to put it another way, is it possible to get to a point where there's no more improvement that's possible and it's as good as you're going to actually get it? From the study that I've done, I don't think many companies have even got close to maxing out on conversion rate optimization, which kind of proves just how valuable it is to take seriously. And really, if you're not doing CRO properly on your funnels, then it's fair to say you're leaving plenty of money on the table. So with that in mind, let's jump straight into an excellent case study from the conversion rate experts, which analyzes the work they did for Crazy Egg and reinforces the point that I'm making here about continuous ongoing CRO. So this is the Conversion Rate Experts website, and the title of this case study is Does Optimization Ever End? How we grew Crazy Egg's conversion rate by 363%. So continuing on from what I was saying before, they're saying here that many people ask us if there's a point at which conversion rate optimization gives diminishing returns. And if that point does exist, then Facebook, Amazon, and Google don't appear to have hit it yet. It's astonishing what you can achieve with a sophisticated conversion strategy and a skilled team. So, I mean, when you look at it that way, Facebook, Amazon, and Google are most probably the three biggest companies in the world at the moment. And if they're saying that those three companies don't appear to have hit the peak yet of potential for CRO, then basically any company can improve their results by continual CRO and optimization. Okay, so as far as this case study goes with Crazy Egg, first of all, let's have a look at how they got these improvements. And they're saying here that they discovered long ago that our recommendations can never be better than our facts. So it's critical to begin by gathering substantial visitor intelligence. This means firstly, gaining a deep understanding of what makes buyers buy, and two, most importantly, determining what makes some qualified visitors not buy. What are the objections? What turns them off? All right, so with that in mind, they discovered that there was 4 primary objections with Crazy Egg, and let's have a look at how they managed to address them. First of all, some of Crazy Egg's visitors were unclear about heat maps actually worked and exactly what sort of reports Crazy Egg would generate. So, I mean, that's a good point. If you're not familiar with CRO and you're not familiar with heat maps, then it's probably a little bit overwhelming and you wouldn't really understand just how useful they are. So, to counter the objections, they organised a case study competition where they asked the Crazy Egg's customers to present particularly good examples of how they use Crazy Egg on their sites. And the great thing about this was that it enabled them to use actual customers' language on the site to help explain what heat maps were and how they were used. And they also got some great testimonials. So this is a great example of, instead of using your own language and guessing what your customers would relate to actually use your own customers, get some case studies, and use their language, because that will, the potential customer will relate to the words that they're using. And then point number 2 was that price was also an objection, and they weren't sure whether they could justify paying Crazy Egg's prices. So the fascinating thing about price is how one's frame of reference makes all the difference. For example, $2,000 may sound like a lot of money for a shed, but when compared to the price of adding rooms to a home, it suddenly seems cheap. So that's a fair point. So they identified that Crazy Egg's price could benefit from the principle of reframing. So what they basically did was they discovered research from Carnegie Mellon University that indicated an 88% correlation between eye movement on a page and subsequent mouse movement in that zone. And they also determined that the cost to conduct a formal eye tracking study can run into 6 figures and take months to complete. So they're using some hard data there to prove that this is a tool that people really do need, and they're going to find it useful. So armed with this research, they discovered that Crazy Egg could deliver a great deal of visitor intelligence at a tiny fraction of the cost and the time of other alternatives. So that's where they showed an example of immense value. Number 3 was that some visitors thought that Crazy Egg was no different from overlay reports in Google Analytics. So after having interviewed Crazy Egg's customer support people, we knew that they were experienced in describing the differences between Crazy Egg and Google Analytics. So they used transcripts of their explanations on their copy. So that's another good point as well. I mean, why would you bother paying for something when seems to be a similar solution for free? I mean, if Google Analytics does the same thing, then why can't they just use Google Analytics? Why pay for Crazy Egg? So that was definitely an objection that needed to be addressed. And then the 4th one was that they discovered that a subset of visitors thought that Crazy Egg had fewer features than some of the competitors' tools. So they countered that objection by pointing out how the sheer number of features does not always translate into more insights, and that with web analytics tools, it's easy to become overwhelmed by data overload. Sometimes less is more. So that's a great point. I mean, just because a platform has more tools doesn't actually mean it's better. I mean, those tools mightn't be really of much use. So it's not really about the number of tools, it's about the quality of the tools. So from there, let's have a look at how they modified the homepage. And this is sort of difficult to describe without showing you the video. So if you're listening to this, I'll do my best to make it for it to make sense. But you've got a control and you've got a challenger. The control is basically a very, very short version that doesn't go below the fold. So there's no scrolling, whereas the challenger goes forever and it's huge. So they put a lot more effort into the challenger page than the control page. And they're saying here that the redesigned page is about 20 times as long as the control. So that gives you some context into just how long it is. And to identify which of the two versions was most effective at persuading visitors to become customers, they carried out an A/B split test using Google split testing tools. And the results were that the new page outperformed the existing control by 30%, which is excellent. And they make a good point here too, that the media would have us believe that people no longer have any capacity to concentrate and read the long landing page. So in reality, you cannot have a page that's too long, only one that's too boring. So that's the thing. It doesn't really matter how long it is. It matters whether the page is boring or not. So as long as you keep or hold the attention of the prospect, then it's a good idea to have a long landing page and provide more information as long as they're engaged and interested in what you're sharing with them. So we move on to the next point here. Same message in different medium equals 64% more conversions. So this is where they introduced video and they did some testing. People have different learning styles, though the written word is still the bread and butter persuasion medium on the web. It's also important to appeal to people who prefer to learn by watching. Now, that's an excellent point. Particularly, from my experience, the younger audiences prefer to watch video, the older audiences prefer to read. Possibly I'm in the older audience, I'm not sure. I'm actually 46 years old at the moment, but I prefer to read rather than watch a video. But yeah, everybody's different. So they created a video to see if it increased the conversion rate. We wrote a 3-minute script that went through the key points of the sales message. Although it's now possible to point and shoot a high-definition video in just minutes, a mediocre video could lose our audience in seconds, which is a great point. So they used the video production company DemoDuck to create the video, and they did an excellent job. They hosted the video with Wista, which we highly recommend. Yes, I recommend Wistia as well. It's a great platform. But yeah, just getting back to the video production, there's not really any point doing a video if it's going to be rushed, quick, and amateurish. Much better to do a professional video, put some effort into it so that you don't lose the trust of the viewer. And then how a one-time offer increased the lifetime customer value. So they're saying here a small increase in a company's average lifetime customer value can result in a huge increase in profit. An effective way of increasing that value is to incentivize customers to commit for a longer period by offering a discount. However, the problem with a discount, though, is that some retailers have found it the hard way that when they offer discounts too often, they're training customers to wait for the next sale. So what they're saying here is that they recommend a different approach. Instead, create a one-time offer to customers who recently signed up for any level of non-trial paid service. So they showed the following offer once to all customers. So got the headline here, stop you can take 40% off the price of your Crazy Egg subscription right now. And then there's a button, yes, I want the special 1-year upgrade to Crazy Egg account. No thanks, I understand I won't see this offer again. So they only get to see this page once. And they found that 25% of customers accepted this new offer, and because it was effective, they incorporated it into the checkout process. So it was shown once to each new customer. And then from there, they optimized the checkout by 116% more signups. So they installed CRO, which is a survey tool on the page where they allowed visitors to sign up for a free trial so they could understand what was on the minds of the visitors right there. They discovered that these visitors didn't like having to put in a credit card number for a free trial, which is totally understandable. If ever there's a free trial, I hate putting my credit card in. I don't know, just something about it. I don't like it. It puts me off. And more often than not, as soon as I see a credit card thing, I'll just skip away and not bother. So the feedback was that the customers thought that the credit card thing was unnecessary and quite possibly a scam. So to counter that objection, they put an explanation box right under the free trial sign up button that answered the objection by explaining how Crazy Egg would not in fact charge anything during the free trial, and how having a card on file prevents any one person signing up for multiple free trials. So that's an interesting way to justify asking for the credit card. And the CRO survey also revealed that visitors were confused by subscription rates when they were quoted in both monthly and yearly amounts. Now that's another thing. I often get confused. I might see a monthly number of say $9.99 per month, but that is only if you purchase a yearly subscription, so it can get confusing. So knowing that a confused mind hesitates and that hesitation is the death of a sale, we took pains to clarify how their cards would be charged for the yearly rate only after the free trial, but how they could cancel or downgrade at any time. That's great. They also changed several other things, as you see in the following screenshots. So they're showing the page before the changes and then after the changes. So it's a little bit difficult to compare. At least here on the variation, they've got a headline up the top, start your free 30-day trial. They didn't have that before. And there's also 100% no risk free trial, and they've got a bit of a 4 steps of how to actually sign up and what happens. They didn't have that on the original page. Looks like the fields are pretty much the same. So the variation here resulted in 116% more signups. Perhaps we spoiled that surprise by mentioning it in the section heading. Oh, yeah, true. All right, so the handy lessons here from this case study are, firstly, that this last win powerfully illustrates our principle of unblocking arteries. Many visitors previously were ready but not quite willing to convert on the free trial page and were being blocked by objections that had not been addressed. And that's where that CRO survey really helped. By overcoming the objections, we eliminated the blockage and the sales flowed. Perfect. The one-time offer test illustrates another important principle of conversion rate optimization. Don't let the fear of a short-term loss stand in the way of a long-term gain. For instance, don't decide that you won't install a pop-up survey on your homepage because you think it clutters the look. Implement the survey, gather data for a week or so, and then take it down. Yeah, it's a fair point. It's the same with testing generous offers like the 40% discount one-time offer for Crazy Egg. If testing shown that it had not been effective, we would have deleted it from the site. Fair enough. And be sure to test different media for serving up the same persuasive content. If your site is text heavy, then try video, which we've gone through. Also, tune your message to the medium. For example, some concepts can be explained much more succinctly by video than text. That's a good point. And lastly, don't believe nonsense rules about how short pages sell better. That's a good point. The Harry Potter series proved that you can get people to line up at midnight in bookstores to receive the next lengthy book as long as it's interesting. So, Hopefully you got some value out of that. I've run out of time and I'll catch up with you next time. Bye for now.